What's up, everybody? Welcome to Move the Sticks. DJ Buck with you. Buck, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Come on, DJ. I'm good, man. Can't complain. I'm excited about your game over the course of the weekend on Monday night. So it'll be fun. You're part of the Harbaugh Bowl, whether you want to be or not. Should be a lot of fun. Looking forward to it.
You can shorten a little bit, the Harbaugh. They're coming up on Monday night. I'm excited. I am looking forward to it. It was a pretty awesome atmosphere. You know, NFL, we've always talked about the difference between college and the NFL. The atmosphere always leans towards college. But Sunday night, Chargers-Bengals was a fun atmosphere, and I anticipate Monday night will be even better with the Ravens being in town. So it'll be a lot of fun watching that contest. We'll have time to break that one down as we get to next week. I do want to remind everybody, next week we'll have 3 pods. So not the full 5, but 3 with Thanksgiving coming up, which, by the way, that is next week, Buck. I've learned that.
I'm glad you figured that part out, that Thanksgiving is next week.
I wanted it today. I wanted to wake up today and have Thanksgiving.
I know, and I can't wait for it, but I can't wait for that conversation on Harbaugh. And the only reason why, DJ, is because obviously, you know, my attachments to the Jacksonville Jaguars, and watching culture things have suddenly become like must-see TV for me. So to watch Jim Harbaugh quickly go to LA and establish a culture, change the environment, hear the players talk about the change in the environment has just kind of piqued my interest when you think about what he has been able to do in LA, what John Harbaugh has been able to sustain in Baltimore, and then taking a shellacking in Detroit, watching what the Lions have created. It has just made me more convinced than ever that culture, environment matters more than the X's and O's whenever you think about building a championship program.
Yeah, no, and we'll have a chance to get into specifics of that game, but I do want to lead off a little bit with what you're talking about there, because we always love looking into culture and how things have changed. The thing that's unique, getting a chance to see Jim Harbaugh, you know, on the inside, getting a chance to be close to it, see it every week, and have seen training camp and different things. This is what my takeaway was, Buck, that maybe I didn't know from the outside, but something that I've learned is that I don't think often you hear these 4 words together. Toughness, discipline, those ride together, right? Those always ride together. You're tough and disciplined. Positive and fun, those usually ride together. They're all 4 of those things, man. Like it is tough, it is discipline, but they are overwhelmingly positive as a staff, and they have fun. They enjoy being around each other. They enjoy practice. They enjoy playing together.
So, like, how do you put it off? Because, like, I would say this as a high school coach, like, that is the delicate balance, right? Like, you want to have a disciplined program. You want to be tough, and so you think that you have to do some old school things to get that. But how do you also make it fun where guys want to show up and they want to do that? And look, we've talked about this guy, John Gordon, a lot, but he always talks about positive leadership. Like, he's written books on that. We talk about energy bus or positive leadership within teams, all of those things. How do you create that environment? Because I would say Jim Harbaugh really does dance the dance when it comes to that. Like, everyone knows what their teams are about, but when you hear the players talk about him, when you see him at the podium, like, it still looks fun. It still looks like you want to be a part of it. How do you derive that? And you're on the inside. You're behind the curtain seeing it.
Because I think people think that playing around is fun and work is hard. He's made work fun. That's what he's done. And one of the ways he does that, Buck, is when the practices are over in training camp and they're doing their extra conditioning and they're flipping tires. Guess who's flipping tires with them?
Yeah.
The head coach.
Yeah. I mean,
you know what I mean? Like, he jumps right in. How are you going to complain about it as a 22-year-old when you got the 50-plus-year-old head coach with a bad hip who's doing the same stuff you're doing?
Well, how about him playing catch? Like, he doesn't seem like anything, but I listened to Alex Smith on a podcast talk about, like, just that part of him building a relationship by playing catch. And then Harbaugh talking about, you can learn so much about people when you throw and catch with them and you go back and forth and all of that other stuff. I just think his intentionality when it comes to building relationships and what he does. And I mean, people are talking about Justin Herbert, but look at how he built up Quentin Johnson, right? Yeah. Like, Quentin Johnson was viewed as a throwaway, like, he's not any good, but he immediately came in and was like, he's going to be great. He's going to be like, he breathes life into these guys. And the program is the same program that it was at Michigan. It's hardened. It's about physicality, toughness, work. Extra work is the expectation, but no one bristles at the notion of, oh no, this is what we expect to do. Like whatever. I think he used to do a thing where, you know how you have competitions, but the winners would do the push-ups. And he would use the old quote, like Jonas Salk has a quote, the greatest reward for doing is the opportunity to do more. And so there's this Jedi mind trick that he plays on people that, oh, you know what? When we win, guess what we get to do? We get to do more. Yay. Like what? Like, no, it runs counter to what most people think, but he's found a way to make people really embrace that.
Yeah, he's found a way to make the work fun. I mean, I just really think that's what it is. The competition's fun. The work is fun. By the way, did you see the video, the Oregon video with Lanning and jump around?
No, I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen this?
No.
Oh, Buck, you got to watch this.
Have to write it down. Because jump around is a Wisconsin thing.
So they play Wisconsin, right? Think about Oregon going to play at Wisconsin. That's not an easy environment to go to. You knew it was going to be hyped up, and everybody knows that they play jump around there, and the place goes crazy. So he gets up in a team meeting, like I guess it's the Monday of that week. He gets up there and he goes, let me explain to you guys the story about Pavlov's dog. You guys know this? And he goes through the whole thing. He said, so ring the little bell, and then the dog knows what's up by the bell, and that action is a response to the bell. It just trains him. So he said, every time you hear this song, Jump Around, I don't want you to be, listening quiet or off. He said, we are going to embrace it because that's going to mean that it's time for us to eat. We're the hungry dog, and that is our bell. When we hear that song, I want you guys to dance around and enjoy it. And guess what? We're going to be playing it in meetings. We're going to be playing it in practice. And every time you hear that song, it's to let you know, okay, let's turn it up. Let's absolutely turn it up. It's our time. It's our time to take care of business. So fast forward, they're in Madison. That song comes on. The whole Oregon team is jumping up and down and going bananas, going crazy. But like he took something that maybe was intimidating to other teams and said, like, oh, it's on now. Like this is that's our signal that it's go time. I was like, that is genius for college kids. Absolutely genius.
How about that? And how about you with the little history lesson right there, Pavlov's dog? Like, how about that? How about DJ digging a little deeper to pull around? But I do love that, like, flip it around. Oh, you know what we're going to do? We're going to take your thing and make it our thing.
Yeah, that's our call to action. Yeah. I was like, oh, it's genius. You got to see the video. It's incredible. The way they put this whole video together is insane.
That's great.
Yeah. I want to do a fun project here in just a second. We're going to look at the teams picking at the top of the draft. We'll do that in a little bit and talk about who has the most work ahead of them and maybe who could be a little bit closer to turning their program around. We'll get to that in just a minute. But there was a couple numbers I wanted to bring up with you, Buck. Was going through some of the PFF stuff and just sorting statistics and watching some tape and looking at different things. I was curious about a couple things. Rookie wide receivers. Speaking of, Harbaugh and the Chargers, Ladd McConkey he's on pace for over 1,000 yards. He leads all rookies with 19 explosives.
Crazy.
19 explosives. And when you watch it, and I went through all those top receivers and watched all their targets today, I wanted to see it. He's, I would say BTJ, him, Neighbors, those are the three best route runners. But if you want to look at just pure route running and then transitioning with the ball in your hands, McConkey looks the best as we sit right here at this point in time.
Now, I would say that I'm not surprised. And I would say that I'm not surprised given what he was able to do at Georgia over years. And I think it's really important to the scouts that are listening. That's why you don't just look at his final season. To me, you should look at the entire body of work. DJ, for years, I would look at Georgia play and I'm like, man, who is this dude beating the backs out of these DBs? We talk about being the best.
Yeah.
And it was always Ladd McConkey. And when you watch, you're like, man, this dude catches it. He has some wiggle. He's a great route runner. When we talk to him, he has like some of that swag about him. And in the offense, and we talked about it early in the week in the podcast where we talk about the cyclical nature of pro football and how the running game comes back. And so the running game then creates opportunities on play action in these deep things that you can do with deep sets. Well, now when you put a great route runner in an offense that allows you to have some freedom to kind of really dance and set people up for explosive plays, well, that's McConkey's wheelhouse. And when you talk about 19 explosive plays and him being on track to lead all rookies, I can see that because it goes hand in hand. Typically, DJ, if you're a dominant running team, your passing game is a vertical, explosive passing game. And what the Chargers have subtly done without having brand names on the outside, they become that team. Run it, run it, run it, throw deep. And it's working for them.
Yeah, and he does a lot of it from the slot. I mean, he can get away from people, and to me, it's his transition stuff that he makes happen after the catch, which is going to lead me to this next number that I want to get your thoughts on. Brock Bowers leads all rookies with 401 yards after the catch.
Yeah.
So this is my theory. If we're going to we live in a too high league, right? Which is another reason why we've been talking about running backs kind of coming back in style a little bit. And we have both had Bowers at top tight end. There's no mystery there. He was clearly that guy. But going into the future, with the way defenses are playing now, should we put more emphasis on tight ends run after catch? We talk about feel and positioning and those things as a tight end. Obviously, it's nice if you have an inline Y who can block. But it feels like if those safeties are going to be parked back there, not only do we want to be able to split the seam on occasion, I want guys that can run with the ball in their hands and make things happen.
Yeah, I think it's essential. And what we're talking about, DJ, right now, we're talking about the interior three when we relate to the passing game. And it's not only it's the tight end, the slot receiver, and the running back.
Yep.
That's where your explosive plays are now coming.
Look at the Detroit Lions in those three spots.
Oh, man, I had to watch Jahmyr Gibbs just scoot around like he was Sonic the Hedgehog. It's the tight end splitting the seam. It's the slot receiver on catch and run concepts. And then it's also the running back on different things out of the backfield, whether it's screens, whether it's swings, whether it's option routes. The interior three working against the linebackers and safeties, that's now the cheat code for the offense. And if teams are going to live in that too high world where they're trying to take away the explosive plays, cool. We'll create our explosive plays in other ways. And it's the tight end being able to make plays down the seam and run after catch. And then the interior guys also being able to do the same.
I'm looking at some of these top teams, so the teams with the best record in the NFL right now, the Lions, the Chiefs, the Bills, the Eagles, the Steelers, the Vikings, the Chargers. Like those are the top teams right now. And I bet if you went through and were to rank teams that with those three spots in terms of running backs, tight ends, slot receivers, they have at least two of the three that their offense can kind of run through. Detroit being the most obvious one with Amon-Ra, St. Brown, Laporta when he's out there healthy, and Gibbs. Like that is a vicious three. That's an interesting way to look at it.
But I feel like it's coming back around. The other thing that we're soon going to see, because for every action, there's a reaction. And so the reaction to offense is going spread was, okay, on defense, we can go with these lighter linebackers, these DBs. We're going to play nickel all the time and do that. Okay, offense said, oh, okay, we counter that. We'll come and find a way to create big plays and do that other stuff. So then the defense said, oh, we'll park the safeties back. You're not going to have the deep ball. Now the counter is we're going to run the football. DJ, how long before defenses are forced to change because they're getting gutted by the running game? They're getting gutted by these tight ends and slot receivers running down there. Does it change the scouting situation? Because before, DJ, we started putting high grades on linebackers that we never would put on. Always fine. He's 210. We'll play with him. Think about JOK, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, and the impact that he's had for Cleveland, which is substantial. But DJ, he was light. Remember, we talked about, is he safety? Yeah. Is he a linebacker? It's going to have long-term impact on how we view these other positions, because we talked about positionless defense for so long. Can we still play that when teams are really attacking us with the running game and hitting us down the seams?
Yeah. Oh, it's going to be an action followed by a reaction here. I want to give you a couple other second-year player stats, and then you take whatever one of these interests you. But JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba is quietly having a really good year. He leads all second-year guys, 65 catches, 778 yards. He leads in both categories. So he has taken off and kind of been what we hoped he would be coming out of Ohio State. Those two running backs you mentioned, Bijan's got 837 yards. Gibbs has 800. Bijan's forced 39 missed tackles. Gibbs has forced 34. Bijan's caught 49 balls. Gibbs has caught 24. So I think it's interesting, kind of where it is now, and Gibbs is so dynamic. But I thought Bijan was a little more complete player in terms of the physicality. That kind of shows up a little bit. He's doing as much, actually doing more in the passing game. They're both elite players, but I thought last year we kind of left last year saying, man, like Gibbs should have clearly been maybe the number one guy, and Bijan was behind him. I think that's kind of straightened itself out a little bit. Both exceptional players, and then last Charger nugget. Tuli Tuipulotu 7 sacks right now for the Chargers, which is something, again, a theme that if you listen to us in the spring, power rushers, power rushers, power rushers. Jared Verse in this year's class, Tuipulotu in last year's class. That's what this league is. That's what this league is rewarding right now. Is guys that can get through you, not necessarily around you.
Well, it's becoming one where the ball is out so quick that the guys that are running around you, they can't get late. You got to run right through the middle of the chest of the guy that is blocking you. And power rushers not only give you the opportunity to get after the passer with those bull rush and those things, they also have an innate ability to play the run. To hear the story about Tuli being super quiet and how Khalil Mack talked about this dude never talked, and we finally got him to open up, and how he would sit at his knee and listen and take some of the seeds of greatness. DJ, the natural mentorship that also happens is essential. You think about Tuli being able to play with Khalil Mack, with Joey Bosa, the advantages of being able to see them go to work every day. We've talked about the committee situation. The committee situation isn't just about throwing a bunch of people out the bullpen, but it's having those guys being able to learn from one another. Von Miller may not be the player that he once was, but what's his impact on Greg Rousseau and Ed Oliver and some of the other guys that are able to watch him and listen to his pass rush approach? Now more than ever, it's the collective, it's the depth, the talent of the people that you have in certain situations that would allow your team to play at a championship level.
Yeah, it's it really is something. We talk about having somebody in every single room. If you could have ideally one of those leaders, one of those mentors in every single room, that would be huge. I just looked it up, by the way, because you brought up Rousseau's name. Rousseau has 51 pressures this year, which is 7th best in the league. So, man, he's having a heck of a year. Someone that we both enjoyed visiting with when we're going through the draft process. Buck, let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll look at these teams picking at the top of the draft and discuss who has the most work to do right after this. All right, here we go, Buck. Right now, your Jags would have the number one pick. How about that? Followed by the Titans, the Browns, the Giants, the Raiders, the Patriots, the Jets. So I thought we would look at this and we can kind of go through it the first time, and we'll say, let's go major. Let's go with the designation of a major lift. Let's go with several pieces. And then say, let's go with close, so major lift, they need some pieces or they're actually close. So let's work from 7 down to 1. The New York Jets, would you throw them in a major lift, a couple pieces, several pieces, or they're actually really close?
Major lift, just because of the amount of confidence that they had in an older bunch of guys will make it where you need to blow the older guys out and you got to reset it with younger guys. There's some intriguing young pieces on defense. There's some intriguing young pieces on offense. There's some improvements on the offensive line that you got to figure out. But without question, when you talk about a 40-plus-year-old quarterback, you bring over Devontae Adams, who's older. You have Tyron Smith and those other guys on the offensive line. You got to get younger and better. How do you do it all in one draft and in free agency? I have no idea how they get it done, but it's one of those things that you have to make sure that you're able to do it.
All right, I'll take the other side of this and hear me out on this and see if where you're at. Remember, we do the Championship Foundation, and we talk about the different pieces. If you look at it, like let's start, like we talked about having 3 quality offensive linemen. Well, if you count Vera Tucker, Fashanu is a rookie first-round pick with a lot of talent, and Tippmann, who's a solid young player. Like those are 3 first, second-year guys with a lot of talent. So that would give you your 3 offensive linemen. You look on the defensive side of the ball, they've got plenty of guys up front, when you're looking at the impact players they have, with Quinnen being a all-pro caliber player. Jermaine Johnson, who's missed this year but was excellent last year. He's a potential blue level player. And Will McDonald's going to be double-digit sack guy. So you've got, and then you still have Hassan Reddick, at least for the time being. But I think you've got the pieces there. Quincy Williams is a Pro Bowl level, second level player. And they've got Sauce and Reed, depending on what they do with DJ Reed in the offseason, but you've got solid corners. So I think really, to me, I would say just a couple pieces because they're the most important, but I would say quarterback obviously needs to be fixed. And then I would say you got to hire the right head coach. I feel like if they got the right head coach and the right quarterback of these teams up here in the top 7, I don't think there's a bazillion holes they got to go fill.
I think maybe because I said so far away, because I think those are the hardest pieces to find.
Fair.
The right two leaders, right? So you got the leader of the team, and then you got the leader of the franchise, the head coach, and the leader of the team, which would be the quarterback. Man, it's been so hard to identify. And also maybe looking ahead to the 2025 class, which quarterback brings you the promise that, okay, man, I can just hitch him to the wagon and we're going to figure out a way to go. And can they take a reclamation project and get it done? For every Sam Darnold, there are a bunch of other guys that never work out when it comes to doing it. But you're right, though. They do have some intriguing young pieces. I just view it as far away just because I think it's really hard to find a head coach and a quarterback.
Yeah, the big holes. How about the Patriots?
Look, more pieces. I like that they're playing hard. I feel like they found a quarterback in Drake May that you can build upon. We talked about the Josh Allen impact in terms of how Drake May can play. Maybe he has that Josh Allen factor to him. No receivers. Don't have a tight end. Like offensively, they're just so far behind the 8 ball. You got to commit a lot to build them up. But a lot of pieces, but you have to be excited about the work given what the quarterback has displayed.
Huge offseason ahead. Huge. They need to get after it in free agency and go get some blue level players. I feel like they've tried to kind of spread their resources around and just get guys to fill spots. They need impact players, and then they turn around and get impact player in the draft. But I mean, gosh, Drake gives them a lot of hope and a lot of confidence that, man, you look up and, if they were to spend big money on, T. Higgins' name has been out there, you go get an offensive lineman in free agency, then you come back to me, you double down, maybe get another offensive lineman with the 6th pick where they're picking right now, then that can change a little bit. But I think there's a lot of work to be done, but it's a big off season. I would be optimistic though, because it's like the opposite of the Jets. You got the most important piece, man. Like I'd rather go shopping for 5 other things knowing I have the quarterback than to have the 5 other things and be looking for the quarterback.
Yeah, because even if you think about it the other way, right, where you have all the other pieces, you're just going to drop the game manager type quarterback in there. It's still not it's not certain that it's going to hit. But when you have a franchise guy or quarterback that you can see really quickly has the talent to take your team to the next level, it seems like it's just easier to build around him. And what you pointed out, like a T. Higgins, with a young quarterback, more important to have a veteran receiver. I don't want both of my guys learning at the same time. My number one receiver and my quarterback, I would rather have someone that is savvy and already knows how to go about their business. So Drake May can just trust that I can fling it out there. He's going to be there. The Patriots have a very important offseason ahead. But, man, if they can get a playmaker or two, it's going to make life easier for them with the quarterback.
You go get that Penn State tight end and you pair him up with T. Higgins. Now this offense gets kind of fun real quick. That would be
in a hurry.
It would be fun. That would be fun. I think this one is an easy one. The Raiders is a major lift. I mean, there is a lot to do on that list.
Yeah, a lot to do. Just starting on the offense, man. You have Brock Bowers, who's your number one offensive playmaker. But outside of Bowers, what are you building on? Offensive line needs to be reconstructed.
Don't have no premier running back, no premier receiver.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have anything. Quarterback, you got to figure out.
Nothing.
I mean, there's a lot defensively. Yeah, you got Christian Wilkins and Max Crosby and those guys, but it's still lacking blue chip players in those marquee spots. It's a heavy lift for the Raiders, and probably one they didn't expect. They probably thought they could kind of grind it out, thug it out this year with a team that kind of came back intact. But it's clear and apparent when the rest of the division is improving like they are, see the Chargers, see the Broncos, you got to be right up there with them or you get left behind quickly.
Yep. Giants coming off right now sitting at 2-8.
It's major because the quarterback situation. Now that you've made it, You kind of made the situation where Daniel Jones has to be gone. You have put so much pressure on yourself to find a quarterback in this offseason. We've said this. You never want to go to the grocery store when you're hungry, because you're more likely to bring back a bunch of stuff that you can look in the pantry like, why do I have all of this stuff? Well, now they're going to have to talk themselves into finding a young quarterback that can get it done. And when we look at the free agent market, like, who's the best free agent that could be out there? We've talked about the quarterback class not being an elite quarterback class. The Giants are now painted themselves into a corner where they have to get a quarterback when everyone in the football world knows there may not be a sure thing at quarterback in this draft.
Yeah. The interesting thing about the Giants is they have, you got a big time young talent and neighbors on the outside. Tyrone Tracy's been fun to watch this year in the backfield. Obviously, nice to have Saquon. But defensively, they got some real dudes led by Dexter up front.
Mm-hmm.
They got three interesting guys up in that front with Thibodeau and Burns to go along with Big Dex. So there's some pieces there. I don't think they're as big a lift as some of these other teams in here. But again, it's the quarterback, which as we're going through these teams, I think it's apparent, and we'll get all the way up to your Jags at number 1. But I don't know if we would have thought this, but the Patriots might be the most enviable position because they're going to have a top 10 pick and they have the best quarterback situation in terms of the talent and the cost. Drake may cost them nothing on the books right now, and they can get good quarterback play out of him. We've seen that already. So they would be in the most enviable position. The team next that we're going to go over might be, you could make a case in the most precarious situation. That's Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, it's tough, right? It's tough for the Browns.
Would you tear it down? Would you do you trade Myles Garrett and say, let's just take this thing down to the studs?
Well, I don't like trading away great players to start it all over. So I would have some guys that are sacred cows. He's a sacred cow. Anybody else besides him, I'm cool. Like, if we need to get and move on from Denzel Ward, if we need to move on from some of their other players, yes, I would keep him. But yeah, I think there's a reset. And the reason why, DJ, like, for whatever reason, we thought this defense was still going to be able to carry them no matter what the offense did. The defense took a step back. We got to examine it. We got to make the quarterback situation. I think Sean Payton has given you a blueprint for how to deal with the quarterback. Cut your losses, move on, take your medicine next year, and find a young quarterback that you can build upon. To me, that's the way that you have to do it, and you have to rebuild it with that in mind. I can't imagine a situation where Deshaun Watson comes back as a quarterback. You have to rebuild it.
He might come back. He just might not be starting.
I don't think you can even bring him back, DJ.
I don't know how financially you're going to eat. You got a lot to eat, man.
I mean, look, the Broncos ate that with Russell. They ate a lot with Russell Wilson. I
Yeah.
mean, okay. So if you bring him back, DJ, just think about the energy.
This is fully guaranteed, Russ. That was not fully guaranteed money.
It's not, but we're gonna bring him back. Your Chargers have played the Browns, right?
Oh yeah.
The energy around the program, the energy, right? So
I always take that back. They had just come off of a win. Jameis had taken over, and there was a little bit of energy, but after about the 5th, almost interception that he threw in that game, it dissipated quickly.
I think you have to look. I think you have to charge it to the game. You just have to kind of like, look, man, take your castor oil now. Just go ahead and close your note and do it. Because if you're able to bring in a young quarterback that gives you some hope, the rest of the pieces will play better. I'm convinced that the rest of the pieces will play better if the energy is different around the building. And the only way you energize the building is you got to bring in a young stud. Bring in a young stud and find a way to get it done. And if you're like at number 3, I mean, we could talk about the quarterback. You just got to bring a young stud in and just kind of go with it.
So, Buck, how do you do this? I'm looking at this right now. If you cut Deshaun, right?
It's 90-something million, right?
After June 1, it would cost you $72 million in 25, okay? And they'd absorb a $100 million hit in 26. You can't. How do you do that? How do you build your roster? It's a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare.
How do you bring them back, though? Like, there's nothing.
How do you build out your roster? How do you fill out a team?
How do we bring them back, though? There's nothing on tape that says, hey, you know what? New scheme, couple tweaks, we're right back. DJ, it's been 3.
Well, the good news is if you want to cut him before June 1st in 25, it only costs you $172 million against the cap. So, I mean, that's no problem. Just $172 million in dead cap. They are screwed. Like I'm trying to find hope for all these teams and present you a scenario. There is no good situation there. I don't know how they get out of this. I have no idea.
All right, I'm gonna have you put on your general manager. Okay, so we bring him back. How do
quit.
we build a team? We bring him back. How do we build out the team? Like, how can
I'm going to play a rookie? I'm drafting a rookie that costs me next to nothing, and I'm going to run with him.
We're gonna put him in.
That's why I told you, Buck. This is not what anybody wants to hear in Cleveland. I'm sorry. I know we've done this before. We tried to make it work with this group that we had. We thought we were close. We took the big swing. It didn't work. For sale sign everybody. Everybody's for sale. Everybody's for sale. And I'm stockpiling. I don't love this quarterback class this year. I haven't done anything on the following group, but I just give me as many lottery tickets going into the future as I can possibly get. I want as many picks as I can get.
Okay, we're
going to be picking up there ourselves for the next 2 years. So now we'll get a couple more.
This is Sam Hinkie. Trust the process. We're gonna trust the process with the Browns. We're just gonna take it. How
else are you gonna get through this, man? I don't know how you do it.
We're gonna be bad for a couple years and bring it back and just try and figure out a way to do it. I mean,
hey, get the analytics department with the scouts and say, hey, boys, we're gonna need some undrafted free agents. They're gonna have to make it work.
We have to get rid of Myles Garrett. We can't have one sacred cow. We can't.
Why? What's the point of having him? You're not winning anything.
We gotta have somebody to rush the passer. So we're not gonna have anything. We're just gonna start. We're gonna start anew. Jeez.
Buck, 3 words: embrace the suck. Just embrace it. Put your arms around it. Give it a big hug. Embrace the suck for a couple years, and then we're gonna get it turned around. It's like baseball, man. It is what it is. Titans picking at 2 right now with a 2-8 record.
Need a quarterback. I mean, it's so hard. Quarterback thing just clouds me. DJ, I don't know who their still young players are. You know,
I mean, Jeffrey Simmons technically not young. Big boy from Texas playing next to him has played really well this year.
Roger Sweat.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like a major. I mean, look, if you
Ridley, I guess Ridley's not young, but he's
not young, but he's on the contract. He's got to be there for at least 2 more. It seems kind of major because they don't have an identity yet. And we can take a quarterback. We take the quarterback there. What does that do for them? They don't have playmakers around them. Defensively, they play hard. They've done it, but it still feels like an old defense. You know, I feel like it's a major.
Let me just save you. It's a major lift.
It seems like a major
lift. Yeah. We don't need to go any further on that. Jags.
Okay, I'm gonna say this. Despite what the owner said about this being the best team, I see good, not great, all over.
And you put them in that middle class. Just they need a few pieces.
I mean, a few, but like very essential pieces. I think you have to flip the offensive line. The quarterback is there. The number 1 wide receiver is there. You got 2 pass rushers in Trayvon and Josh Allen.
Pretty good place to start when you're comparing them to these other teams we've been talking about.
Yeah. Okay. A few. You got a cornerback that you paid in Tyson Campbell. I still would say I don't like paying big money for a right corner. Particularly, I would rather have a left corner. But yeah, DJ, there's some things to do. But you got to make. When I say good, not great, I don't know of how many of those guys that we listed out are blue players, and that's problematic. You're paying elite premium money for guys that may not be blue players. So we're kind of stuck in whatever. The draft has to do it. It has to be a draft deal.
I'm gonna give you my top. Like if you say who do you want to be in these teams that we just went over because we just had that discussion, I'm gonna give you my top 3. Tell me if you're any different. The number 1 team I'd like to be is surprisingly New England. I would like to be New England. I've got the quarterback. He costs me nothing, and I've got money to spend, and that's who I'd want to be. Number 2 would be your Jags. I think you do have some good players. We can debate whether or not how elite they are, but and with Trevor, I still hold out hope you get the right fit there. that with a voice that Trevor, connects with, they would be number 2 on this list of 7 teams. And I'd put the Jets at number 3 just because obviously they need the biggest piece with the quarterback and the head coach. But I think there's a lot of other good players there. So that would be 1. New England would be 1, Jacksonville 2, the Jets would be 3. Who I'd want to be picking in the top 7 here.
Interesting about the Jets. Here's what I would say about the Jets. I think a tough guy could fix the Jets. I think a guy who came in there and talked about, hey, we're going to play a certain way. We're going to have a physical team. I believe they could be fixed quickly. I don't think the Jets have a true identity. I think someone that could come in and define who we are and what we're going to be makes the Jets an easier program to flip around. The Patriots, it's about opportunity to upgrade the pieces. You got a bunch of money, you have picks, but because you got the quarterback, it can be done. You're just simple thing of being able to throw T. Higgins on that team, giving them an established playmaker on the outside. They play hard. They play tough. Defensively, they get after it on defense. They're tough enough to be able to do it. The Jags, to me, are a bit of a mystery because I think it depends on who's running everything when it comes down to it. If they're running back with the same GM and coach, now you got to convince the team that is 3-14 that they can change without really changing all of the stuff. That can be like a harder thing to do. But there are some pieces there. They got to play better. So they got to play like you're paying big money. They got to play like big money players.
The team that I would not want to be in this entire list is the Cleveland Browns. Just trying to figure out that whole situation is going to be not fun. Not fun.
I just know how you trot them back out there. I just know how you.
I don't know how you do anything. I don't know how you do anything there, to be honest. So, anyways, that's interesting discussion there, Buck. Anything you want to jump into before we get out of here?
No, that was a fun little discussion. That was a good little exercise.
Yeah, fun exercise. We love doing that on here. Hope you guys have enjoyed this one. We'll be back again next week, 3 episodes. Happy early Thanksgiving to everybody. Hope you enjoy your weekend of football, and we'll see you next week.